Center for Environmental Health in California has put out a new report putting Ross and Burlington on blast for selling products with lead in them. This shouldn't be a surprise to Ross and Burlington because the Center for Environmental Health has notified them hundreds of times, letting them know that they've tested their products like belts and shoes and purses and wallets and found lead at excessive levels. And CEH has been working on this for a long time. They've put a lot of brands on blast for selling products with lead. They've had legal agreements where these brands, retailers have said, okay, we're going to get lead out of their products. And most brands and retailers have complied. Center for Environmental Health has been purchasing products and then testing them, and lead levels have gone down and disappeared in a lot of them. But for some reason, Ross and Burlington, these off-price retailers, are just, I don't know, they just don't care. So CEH bought almost 2,000 products across California at Ross and Burlington stores and had them tested for lead. Just to be clear, this wasn't a random sampling. This was products that they know are risky for containing lead. So real leather and faux leather wallets, purses, belts. But what they found was that 27% of the products they bought and had tested did contain elevated levels of lead. And when they say elevated levels of lead, that means above 300 parts per million. The legal limit for what children's products can contain is 100 parts per million. And no, there's no safe level of lead to have in a product, but CEH had to set a limit for what they considered elevated, so they chose 300 parts per million. Okay, and this is ironic. Actually, they found that vegan products were more likely to contain lead, like this PETA-approved purse. And the handbag brand that was most likely to contain lead was something called Heart Vegan or Love Vegan. What was so interesting is that it actually wasn't the vegan material itself, which is essentially just plastic. It was actually the lining of the wallets and the purses. And what this shows is that when something is labeled as vegan, it doesn't mean it's eco-friendly or non-toxic or good for the planet or good for animals. It just means it's cheap. These vegan brands are using the word vegan to hide the fact that they're just making something as cheaply as possible and getting the lining from whatever sketchy and cheap place you can get fabric. So you're probably wondering, how is this legal? Well, it's actually not illegal to sell adult products containing lead in the United States, but it is illegal to sell them in California and not label them as having lead or a hazardous substance. Still, only about half of the products that tested positive for elevated levels of lead had a Prop 65 California warning on it, and usually like in a weird place or in tiny font. If this is a problem in California, then this is 100% a problem in the rest of the United States. Before you say something like, well, you know, low-income people deserve to look good too, like they deserve to be able to buy cheap clothing, like everybody's struggling. Yeah, for sure. But this is literally harming low-income people and people of color who are targeted by these off-price retailers, Ross and Burlington, because they're buying products that have lead in them. Everybody deserves to be able to walk into a store and buy a product that is not toxic. Full stop, the end. This just goes to show that if you're purchasing something very cheap from a brand that you've never heard of, I mean, maybe you've heard of some of these brands, I haven't heard of most of them, you're taking a really big risk with your health. So if this really bothers you, you can sign up a petition at CEH.org. You can also follow CEH on social media. They're around. They're doing really good work, and also California, the state of California is doing really good work to protect you from toxic clothing.